how the EFCC laid siege in his house.
In Abuja.
Did you see? Yes, in Abuja. And did you see the list of the security details? That's not the former governor now. If a former governor, Sandra, had police details, there was also the DSS as part of the security details. You also had the special counter-terrorism unit as also part of security details. There was also the local vigilante from Kogi State also protecting him. And then, of course, the EFCC came before the current governor, who, of course, we all know how he managed as governor, came in to take him out of his house. And the information we are getting now that is being kept in the government house in Lokoja and Kogi State. Sandra. Now, the EFCC, has eventually declared him wanted. The Nigerian Immigration Service has given out this information to all their units in a different border posts, not to allow him to leave the country. The police is also on watch list. The Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, has also issued a statement condemning an attempt to obstruct justice. And in all of this, you ask yourself, what's going on with Yahya Bello, a man that calls himself the White Lion? Has the lion now suddenly become a white,
it's off-white.
Even a cat will be, the cat will even do better.
It's off-white.
Yes,
it's off-white now.
Even a cat.
It's off-white now.
Or a black has become, it's just. Again, we'll see how this ends, because again, there are also some reports that the government may be looking at the option of the military to dig him out or whatever is hiding.
Yes.
Just to make sure he appears in court,
because, exerting military force into bringing him out due to the fact that Governor Dodo, is under immunity under Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution. So if he is actually in the Kogi State government house, I mean, there's little. He can't just barge in.
You know, very simple solution to this matter, Sandra. You know a very simple solution to that.
What would you say that?
The idea of police, I think, have withdrawn all the security details to Yahya Bello. That's what they've done, which is fantastic. The security detail of the governor too. I think the IG can instruct them, if he's in that government house, to arrest Yahya Bello and bring him to the police headquarters.
Because the immunity covers Ododo and not Yahya Bello.
Only Ododo. And that's what I'm saying now. If he's actually in the government house, all they need to do is just the instructions, details, security details of the governor. Please help us arrest him. We are coming to take him. Or arrest him and bring him to the police headquarters. What kind of impunity? You see, our politicians are so irresponsible. I'm sorry. This is. So what's he trying to do now? Really?
Well,
what exactly is he trying to do? And now you have all these two colorations with his witch hunt. What's the witch hunting they do? There is a problem about the movement of public funds in Kogi State.
Yes.
It's not a new thing.
No.
That's the story of the White Lion for you.
Well, it's not the end of it. We also have, as you have rightly mentioned, Fuad, the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, also came in and maintained that he would not hesitate to rein in any law enforcement agency violating, citizens' fundamental human rights. But in this particular case here, a flight from the law does not resolve issues at stake, but only, exacerbates it. So he said, and I quote, "I state unequivocally that I stand for the rule of law and will promptly caution the EFCC and indeed any other agency when there is an indication of any transgression of the fundamental rights of any Nigerian. Its jurisdiction to entertain this charge." What happened at Zone 4 Abuja on Wednesday, where they laid siege to the house of the former governor while he was in Lokoja waiting for judgment in his fundamental right enforcement suit, was unfortunate. A bloodbath was avoided. You don't issue a warrant against a defendant who is already before the court and who has already briefed lawyers to defend him. They wanted the Court of Appeal to vacate the restraining order, but the appeal court refused. Yes, what?
You know what, Sandra? We keep talking about the inconsistencies of our court, and what some people have termed what you call judicial rascality. Femi Falana was also had things to say about this particular situation. They are the lawyers, we are not lawyers, we are just journalists, and so we have to listen to lawyers first, break down all of this confusion, confusion coming from a different court. And for Mr. Femi Falana here, what he's saying is that look, an order of the Federal High Court, whether you like it or not, supersedes order that is coming from the state high court. And that in this case, the law is very clear to who owns the jurisdiction on this particular matter, and that nothing can stop the prosecution of former governor who no longer enjoys immunity. But whether we like it or not, since we have inconsistencies with our different courts. Because whatever Ʀᴏɪᴜ AᴊɪԻ was saying yesterday about the fact there is no court that can give an order stopping the EFCC from prosecuting a former governor who no longer enjoys immunity, is actually in contradiction to something that has happened in the past before on the case of Mr. Peter Odili, who currently enjoys, some form of immunity from prosecution and from the court that gives him a perpetual injunction never to be prosecuted by the EFCC. So where do we go from here now? How do we interpret that? Because whatever Mr. Ʀᴏɪᴜ Aᴊɪɪ is saying yesterday about the fact that no court can actually, give an order stopping a former governor who no longer has immunity from prosecution from the EFCC. Does not control to whatever we have with Mr. Peter Odili. Because the same court that from having a perpetual injunction never to be tried by the EFCC or any of the security agencies on leg corruption and fraudulent practices when he was governor. So whether we like it or not, we have a lot of inconsistencies in our laws. And whether we also like it or not, there's a need for us to talk about judicial reforms, because again, in all of these mess and shenanigans, you have the judiciary being complicit. And that's what we already saying. So you can now see that lawyers have different explanations, different reasons to behave, and in all of that, the confusion and embarrassment. It's a national embarrassment to Uganda, whether we like it or not. But that is again the story of the White Lion and the kind of politics we play in this part of the country. Nobody wants to give account to any. 80% something. And the funny thing, Sandra, is that because these are the monies we have been able to identify. And like one of our moms would always say, whenever these kinds of money is mentioned, whether you like it or not, something is missing somewhere. Something is missing somewhere.
All right. Well,
anyway,
there's a lot.
It's an holding drama, so we'll try it.
All right. Well, as it is now, I also have something here just to finalize things. Activists have urged the EFCC to revert to status quo pending the determination of its appeal and a vacation of the restraining order that's placed on it, saying that is the way and dictate of the law. There's a lot of legal analysts and experts have waded into the issue as regards this particular situation. I even have a quote here that says that yes, Yahaya Bello, or I quote, "We do not consider Yahaya Bello a saint, but even the devil deserves his rights under the law. Court documents at our disposal show that the former governor had obtained a high court restraining order against the EFCC not to arrest or prosecute him pending the determination of a case of the enforcement of his fundamental human rights, which the commission has rightfully appealed with the intention of vacating it." So before it has been attended to by the appeal court, I think the EFCC should go with the initial court order, which is a restraining order.
But the funny thing, the same EFCC has the federal high court order.
And that's why we now have conflicting. So that's why we now have the conflicting court orders. So it's just all muddled up and
I will not allow lawyers to mess up with my brain. I will never, ever. I've always told you that on a very simple matter written in English. On a very simple matter written in English, you put lawyers to discuss 10 different lawyers to be saying 10 different. And the funny thing about lawyers, I'm sorry, with all due respect to them, I'm sure Mr. Baka is listening. They make you to look at it is rocket science to explain what is written in clear English. They begin to manipulate and turn things around, and then you have all the legal jumbo that comes with the explanation. And I say that, look, these things are written in simple English, and one wonders why there's so much contradiction in law, especially the way we practice in this part of the country. But even rocket science, the same rocket science that people say is difficult, people study and understand it. So how is our own an application here so difficult? If not that whether we like it or there are indications of corruption in our system, even in the judiciary.
All right.
Would you ever protect the senator? What's the name of that senator? Bukachua. What he said about the judiciary?
Let's not go there. All right.
You want us to talk about it?
Thank you very much for her. Time check right now is 1 minute past 8 a.m. and we are looking through the major stories trending on the front pages of our dailies. We're still on the front page of the Punch, and right here on the front page of the Punch, before we go to the next story, Ogun State acquires 25 vans, mans Lagos Ibadan Expressway with drones. I just have to quickly say that so we can know that Ogun State is doing great things. Thank you very much. Let's move on now.
Congratulations to people of Ogun State. The IGP was there for 3 days. I think it was a whole lot of activities on security in Ogun State, and I think this is commendable. We would hope that this would, of course, bring better security to lives and properties in Ogun State. So a very good one from the governor and the IGP.
Thank you. We are very smart people. Let's move on now.
Yeah.
So we have here on the front page of the Punch, Lagos Calabar Highway, federal government panel to pay compensation within 10 days. So the federal government has yesterday inaugurated a compensation verification committee, and their job is to review, evaluate and compensate landowners that are affected by the construction of the 15 trillion naira Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. And the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, inaugurated the panel and also directed the committee to complete all verification and begin remuneration in 10 days. And all compensation should be done within 10 days, and that's ending April 28th, because it was inaugurated yesterday, 18th April. All right. So that to verify claims and to ensure that verification is settled within 72 hours by the contractor, High Tech Construction Limited. But then there's no word on the total amount approved for the exercise. How much was approved for compensation? We don't have the figures yet. Or I don't know if it's yet, I should say. We don't have the figures at all.
Can you see the problem now that on this particular project, again, we'll say it again over and over again, that this is a very laudable project. Laudable because of what's supposed to come with it. The economic prosperity is supposed to come with this kind of project. But again, on the issue of probity and accountability and transparency, there are questions. The first 7 kilometers of that particular road, there are still questions as to the 1.2 or 1.6 trillion naira that is allegedly paid to the contractor. Up till now, Mr. Dave Umahi has not been able to clear the air on whether the contractor has been paid or not. He has 2 statements in the public space. First one was that, look, the contractor has been paid. The second one is that the contractor has not been paid up till now, despite the press conferences and all the things they have done in recent times.
So where did we get the number 1.06 trillion figure from?
So yeah, he has done a lot of calculation, even though the calculations were clear attempts to make people get more confused about the whole thing. Coming up with very unnecessary figures and calculations and data that was not really necessary on a very simple matter as to due process. It was a very simple matter of due process. But Mr. Dave Umahi, the minister, deliberately turned it into a mathematics class for people. And I'm surprised that our journalists allowed him to mess up with them in that manner. I'm telling you, the question was a matter of due process, honestly. That look how his contract got to the point where contractor was chosen, and it was just simple matter of process. But again, a very smart minister turned it into a mathematics class, and then people were bringing out calculators, going round unnecessary figures. So here we are again now. In the next 10 days, being reported that people will be compensated. So the question again is that, look, the amount of compensation now. Who disbursed the money? Is it part of the money given to the contractor that will be used to compensate these property owners? There's a separate fund. So in all of these kinds of secrecy and lack of transparency and clarity is the reason why people keep asking ourselves, is this the way we want to run the government? I know there are people who love the project. They don't even want us to ask any other question. Just get the project done. People like Joshua. But whether we like it or not, governance in itself, the project is about transparency and accountability. And whether we like it or not, on this particular project, there are still a lot of questions as to the level of transparency that comes.
Hello?
And with you, Sandra. So that's it.
Okay.
Because again, the report is telling you that we don't have any figures yet.
No figure.
The amount that has been set aside for compensation.
Yes.
And for people, it's also a lesson now.
Okay.
For people who buy properties without title. People just buy things anyhow. There's no title. You have a lot of pretenders now. The people I call the imposters in the real estate world. Who just sell anything to anybody and then there's no title. A lot of people will lose their properties now without compensation. Because the law is very clear. You can only be compensated when you have valid government title. And in this regard, because the right of way that is being taken over by government now belongs to the federal government, you must have a federal title to be compensated. It's not even a state title.
And now, so that's where the verification step comes in to verify claims of people who believe that they're entitled to any sort of compensation. So all of this will be done, and it should be done according to Dave Umahi within 72 hours by High-Tech. And a lot of people, of course, have been affected.
That's so fast. That's really so fast. I'm sure about the 72 hours and 10 days, to compensate people on the stretch of road.
The turnaround time. Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm surprised that can be done there very, very fast. I'm not saying it's not possible. So what it means is that, look, before the announcement of this project, a lot of work has been going on that. That's what it means, basically.
So all of this was not done within this 8 months, administration, or this 10 months administration.
Yeah, it's not impossible, Sandra. That's the same question Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was asking. That look, how did they come to the conclusion of drawings?
Since Goodluck Jonathan and Muhammad Buhari did not touch it at all.
And so how did this suddenly happen in 8 months? The drawing was everything
right
was
ready, money, everything. Yeah.
It's almost like a miracle. Like you always say, anything can happen.
Always. It's all right. All right. Well, as we all know, there are a lot of states that have been affected by this: Ogun State, Ondo, Delta, Edo, Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, before culminating in Cross River, starting from Lagos State. So, as it is now, property owners with proven titles would receive compensation, and shanties and those properties within 200 meter shoreline setback without a federal government title would not be compensated, as it is a legal matter. So the committee would engage affected property owners, assess the compensation details, potentially visit the sites, for proper evaluation, and also rates on compensation will be used. The federal rate on compensation will be used to determine the amount, and not a lower figure by the Lagos state government. This is, they say they are committed to transparency, but then we need figures as well.
Let's leave that one. Let's leave the transparency matter. Nobody's committed to anything. Don't be deceived by mere statements.
It's okay.
I just hope that people are good luck to anybody that is compensated eventually.
All right.
You have your title. It's compensation standard. So it's always at the discretion of the government. It's compensation. So there are really nothing fixed as to what is to be paid. Property owners.
Okay, so still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, very quickly, federal government enforces prices in Abuja supermarkets, plans Lagos and Port Harcourt visit. So the FCCPC, visited some supermarkets, even shut down some who are still, selling commodities at high prices. That's what we have now. So there was a raid on about 2 supermarkets. Okay.
No, let us. You see. I know there are several other stories we want to touch on. This is just what you call busybody. Just how would you know the FCCPC is existing? So the same thing happens with when there's fuel scarcity. You have the DPR going around, grandstanding, shutting down filling stations, blah blah blah, black market. This is a complete waste of time. I think to focus really on getting the economy back to work. And allow the market to adjust itself. Okay, if it comes to Lagos, how many supermarkets would there be in Lagos?
Well, they're just concerned about the fact that adherence to price display. It is what is on the counter that is what is.
Wait now. Okay, so when you put price, How do you determine for me how much I'm supposed to sell my product? Do you also know that in pricing standard, you can actually price based on your own customer target? There are people who price for luxury. That's why
you go to the island, some things that you buy on the island is different from the price different from the island.
So what would they be doing now, jumping around supermarket, telling them how to price their product?
In is 25,000.
Are you not aware that a bottle of soft drinks in supermarket is different from market?
Yes, very true.
Based on their own cost arrangement. And so what are we talking about? It is not just people that are jumping around, just making a mess of themselves, thinking they are doing something. The reality is that the government has a lot of work to get the economy back on track. It's just a complete waste of time. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, they are coming to Lagos.
I say it again as a complete waste of time. And so what would they achieve?
But they are just coming to Lagos and they are going to Port Harcourt.
It's just because they want you to know that particular commission exists. They are not going to achieve anything. That's what I'm saying. Pricing mechanism is not about you forcing. It's about allowing the market forces, the demand and supply factor, determine these things, which makes the market adjust itself naturally. And that is only done when the economy is put on a situation where these things can happen naturally. The organic approach, demand and supply, not by people putting up. The same thing will always happen when there's fuel scarcity. There's no fuel, there's shortage of supply. Then you have the DPR jumping up and down, locking up police stations. Whereas the reason why there's scarcity are not addressing it.
All right.
If there was abundance, would people manipulating prices of goods and services?
The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. You can get more details there. Just as far as rightly, mentioned, there's a lot to discuss this morning, and we are still on the first paper. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. You're listening to Trends in the Paper. We're moving on now to this really interesting report here, just above the masthead of the Punch. 7 trillion naira remitted to federation accounts in 6 months, and that's coming from RMAFC. That's Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, saying that a total of 7.3 trillion naira accrued to the federation account between July and December 2023, indicating an increased revenue inflow. This is so good. This is so good. But what? If we
we're making more money.
We're making more money. And I don't know. Are we just going to walk away? Are we going to walk away from every 8 trillion naira?
Wait. Well, that's one issue again. But again, we are making money on the sweat, the suffering, and the pains of the people. Whether we like it or not, all of these subsidies gone. The aggressive tax regime, the possibility of increased tariff on electricity, and all of these things are the reason why government now has enough money to share among themselves. And that's why I say that when we celebrate, at what cost? The government is making more revenue, and so it should be celebrated. What is the cost on the people? And then at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, apart from the cost on the people, what is the effect on the people? The effect on the people. Are we saying that this more money automatically translates into better living for the people, or will translate to better living for the people? Sometimes the only people that are not complaining at this time is the political class and their cronies. Those are the people that are not complaining at this time because they are well taken care of. They are getting emails they are getting prayers in their emails. They are getting amounts of bogus allowances, circles and allowances, and salary, and then of course are able to manipulate the procurement processes at different levels of government. There are different going on now. There are so many questions around some of these contracts. They are the ones that are complaining because year after year, it's not the first time government has to declare more revenue, but has it ever translated into better living for the people? And so we make all of this more money out of the sufferings of the people, and then at the end of the day, corruption takes over. So I'm not one that is exactly more money available for government because it has never translated into better living for the people.
Just as you have rightly mentioned, Fuad, apologies for that. Just as you had rightly mentioned, Fuad, I also have it here in the report that although so many policies like the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, remitted a sum of 1.5 trillion naira. The FIRS remitted 3.6 trillion naira. The government also received a boost in its earnings following the removal of fuel subsidy, which is still under question, and the unification of the foreign exchange market by the current administration. Although these policies are
I'm sure the customs also added to it with their very ridiculously high, import duty. So the customs I'm sure also added to the money.
Yesterday, Dr. Peters was saying on Open Forum that there are some goods that you have to clear with 17 million. There are some goods you clear with 22 million, and if you break down all of the things that you have to pay,
do you know why vehicles are so expensive now, Sandra? You know what you have to pay to clear goods, imported goods. That's why manufacturers are also complaining. So what I was saying that, so this revenue that
but at the end of the day, it's at the receiving end. The citizens are at the receiving end of the harsh economic reality.
That's what we are saying now.
Bringing more money to the government coffers, but the citizens are suffering. And the interesting part of it, or the unfortunate part of it rather, Fuad, is okay, so no problem, we would make these sacrifices, but at the end of the day, this money goes to the government coffers. What are the projects, what are the infrastructure that we can point to,
or the assurances,
to a greater
you know what, Sandra, I told you from day one of this government, after one or two announcements, policy statements, I said the policy outlook of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu government is to ensure more money is available for government. How it is done, they don't care. They just want to tighten everything. And those things are against the people. The subsidy removal thing, the aggressive tax policies, the ridiculously high import duty. So everything is towards an aggressive revenue drive, which makes the people poorer. Whether you like it or not, the purchasing power of the people keeps going down. The people are getting poorer. There's pain and suffering in the land. And so the government expects that when we make all of this money, we will now assure you that we use the money to better your life. But let's ask ourselves, to what end, or to what end can Nigerians trust the government to use all of this money to better their life? Let us, one example that you know that it will extremely difficult for anybody to believe the government on this one, is to see the appropriations in the budget, standard, the last budget. How do you have that kind of 2024 budget and believe that more revenue to government will automatically translate to better life for Nigeria, when people are using millions to pass some manner of it? Those are public funds now that are coming from all this revenue we are talking about. If you understand what I mean, didn't you analyze 2024 budget? Does that in any way, does that 2024 budget in any way, show an indication that the people's life will be better because government has more money? Not going to happen, just giving ourselves. That's what we're saying. You will not break more money for government if you have the corruption index back. The 80 billion that they are having from Yaya Bello, you think it's not public funds? The public funds you are talking about. And it's not just to this state, it's every book, anytime, any day. The corruption index in the land is so bad that we should never put in more revenue to government, because at the end of the day, we will take it over.
Well, thank you very much, Saidfa. The details of that, you can get it on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Finally, from the front page of the Punch, very quickly, anti-party activities, PDP, NEC silent on Wike as Saraki leads peace panel. So the much anticipated 98th National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party was held yesterday. Former Senate President, ex-Governor of Kwara State, Dr. Bukola Saraki, was appointed to lead reconciliation efforts in the party. So as we all know, PDP has been dealing with a lot of internal rancor, especially that was played out especially before and after the 2023 general elections, which cost the party a lot in said same elections. So ahead of the ranking party sources had said that they'll be submitting list of party members across the 36 states who engaged in anti-party activities that resulted in the defeat of the PDP in the presidential election. And it was believed that the list, said to have been prepared for submission, would feature the name of ex-Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, who openly worked against Atiku, where he led his counterparts in Oyo, Benue, Ebonyi, Abia, under the ages of G5 and all of that. But then, according to whatever it was that happened in that meeting yesterday, we are not getting anything from that. So a NEC member who attended the meeting, opting to remain unnamed as he lacked authorization to disclose proceedings, disclosed that contrary to expectation, the NWC did not submit the list and the NEC did not even address the matter. So it disclosed that the NEC approved the appointment of Saraki and Udom Emmanuel, yes, former Akwa Ibom State Governor, yes, as chairman of Reconciliation and Disciplinary Committees, respectively. We were all excited, though. I was waiting for that.
You don't know. No add me to it, though. Tell about what. You were we.
We were waiting for that meeting.
Don't put the effort.
It's a
we. I think you do what we. They are not there. But never. You think I'm disappointed? This happened. The PDP. I'm telling you that the PDP is the most disorganized party in the country now. No leadership, no focus, no strategy, complete fusion. Embarrassingly so too. Instead of a party to be talking about serious discipline for every members who want to give the interest of, they are talking about reconciliation. Who is going to reconcile who now at the end of the day?
Because up through the meeting, it was reported that all throughout the meeting, both Wike and Atiku did not utter a word.
Then they just keep a straight face.
Just
of them kept a straight face. And then Body George was, I think, on TV yet.
Yes, it was.
And the PDP was thinking more of reconciliation than an attempt to chase anybody away from the party. When you see people who are not bounded by their ideology, this is what they're really standard. There are no consequences for bad behavior. And so I'll be surprised. I'm sorry. People may accuse me of getting too hard on the PDP, but any Nigerian that takes the PDP serious is at its own, it's just its own evolution. For me, I'll never take that party serious again.
Because even this Damagum conversation was not even addressed at all.
They have left him. They've again voted for him to continue until when they now have their convention, I think sometime in June or July or so. He should continue that, despite the fact that there are allegations from ranking members of the party that Mr. Damagum is so loyal to Wike and been pandering to his interests. So I think what we now have is a situation where the PDP exists as a political party, but the soul of the party is now at the presidency at the Aso Villa, courtesy of former governor Yᴏᴜᴛ. Because the reality is that, look, if Wike is still tolerated to this extent in that party, and not just Wike and the others, are tolerated this much within the PDP. So what it means is that the PDP exists as a political party, but their life and soul is domiciled at the presidency in the hands of Mr. Wike. And so you ask yourself, why should any Nigerian now trust the PDP as a viable opposition political party? I was looking at the whole thing. Well, like you said, you were excited. I was just hoping that maybe they would disappoint me. But they never disappointed me, because I've said it that, look, since the time President Obasanjo tore his membership card, the PDP had no leadership. When you have a party without any clear leadership that can whip people back to life, this is what you get. So let's ask ourselves now, what becomes of the PDP now as a strategy going forward, 2027, or even future elections? So it's the people who just rob themselves off of what you can call decent politicking, any clear ideology as to what we want to achieve as a political party. So like I said, for me, my own decision now is that, look, anytime you mention the PDP, I don't take them seriously as a political party. It's just a complete waste of time.
I don't have any takeaway from
my own decision.
This particular one. Yes. No, I get. Thank you.
Any ranking member of the PDP can take me on that position. How do you take such a party serious standard now? You have people who work clearly against the interests of your party, and it's not that they are still working against the interests of your party, and they are there. He said you can't do anything about it. So why should Nigerians take them serious?
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. That's a wrap for the Punch newspaper. Unfortunately, we used almost all our time on the Punch, so we'll just quickly run through the Guardian and Vanguard newspaper. The major headline on the front page of the Guardian: living on war front, Borno residents on the edge, tiptoeing on active landmines and IEDs. And that is on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper, because what we have is that between 2016 and February 2023, over 2,400 people were injured, and over 1,400 people were killed as a result of explosive ordnance, and majority of that, are civilians. And this data was gotten from United Nations Mine Action Service. So I think it's a serious cause for concern. In over 13 years of conflict, the use of IEDs, mostly planted by non-state armed groups, has resulted in numerous deaths, severe injuries. Yeah. Exactly. Hindered access to basic social services. People can't move around freely because you don't know what you're going to step on in the next minute. The big story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Also on the front page of the Guardian, we also have here PDP NEC retains Damagum, asks Tinubu to rejig economic team. That's on page 6.
Yeah, they are not facing their own problem. They will not face their own problem.
No.
Anyways,
APC also has its own fair share of squabbles. Kano APC accuses presidency of sabotaging Ganduje as ex-governor gets reprieve. And that is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. So,
what is the presidency in this one now? If you consider the Kano, like I said, on this Ganduje matter, the APC seems a bit completely confused about what to do exactly.
Are we having a repeat of Oshomole's scenario?
You understand? It's not even Oshomole's scenario. It's looking like an Oshomole's scenario. But one would think that Ganduje is in the good books of the president. Because when you talk about the presidency, you are talking about the president.
Yes.
But again, for the Kano APC to be saying there are people within the presidency working against Ganduje, it's all confusion, really. Although the man, I think, has done the right thing, that's the chairman of the party, he's gone to court, to get some form of reprieve. But on this Ganduje matter, I think the APC will have to look inwards really to solve their problem and stop pointing fingers. Everybody's pointing to this one and that one as being the reason why Mr. Ganduje is facing this trouble. But I think it has to be an internal thing. They need to look inwards really. In one breath, they will tell you the NMPP doing it in Kano. Now, APC Kano is saying it's the presidency. The presidency is saying it's the what? So who exactly is after Ganduje? Or is he after himself?
Well, the story is on page 3. We can get all of the details there. I'm moving on to Vanguard newspaper now. We wish Ganduje all of the best. All right, so on the front page of Vanguard newspaper.
Always use I, Sandra. Do you know whether I'm not wishing you good? Don't for me on these politicians that pay. You can say I wish Ganduje all the best. You have the right to wish him all the best. I may not want to be part of that wish. I'm sorry, just what I think.
Good wishes and tidings. It's all right. The major headline on the front page of Vanguard: Tinubu's government hasn't borrowed from CBN, says Edun. And what we have as writers here: ways and means to be pinned down to deal with liquidity. Adds fiscal monetary authorities complementing each other to bring inflation down. Discloses government will borrow less and focus more on domestic resource mobilization. And that story is on page 2 of Vanguard newspaper. So that's as regards a lot of as regards our economic reforms.
Yeah, but he may still borrow now. He may still borrow. You say he has not borrowed, but he will eventually borrow. That's just.
It's okay. I will definitely be following.
The that he has not borrowed.
He hasn't borrowed from CBN. It's okay.
But he has the right to borrow. The law is clear on the ways and means. 5% of the initial budget for the year. So far it stays within the ambit of the law. That's fine. That's not a problem, really.
The Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) has said the federal government will pay 3.2 trillion naira as subsidy if tariff hike is reversed. That is on page 4 of Vanguard newspaper. And above the masthead on Vanguard, we also have here agitation for Yoruba nation laughable, says defense headquarters. That's on page 8. Wike triumphs.
Now he triumphs now. Yes, now.
Vanguard
has been the owner of that party. Don't triumphs as he owns that party.
Now that is on page Page 5. Wike triumphs as PDP NDC endorses Damagum-led NWC. That's all for this morning on Trends in the Papers. Stay with us. Now going well. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, we'll invite you to join the conversation as regards the focal point for the day. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
What takes a plate of jollof rice to the next level of goodness? Is it when it is cooked with non-sizzling cubes for that sumptuous taste? Or when you serve it with correct Nigerian salad, cabbage, carrot, lettuce, and a bit of